In this demo, I will explain the maintenance of privileges for system users. The Privilege Explorer is a tool for defining the privileges of system users. It allows you to define read-write privileges for menus, forms, programs, and reports, or to prevent these entities from being displayed for certain users. In order to assign privileges, you must first divide the users into groups. For every group, there is a user defined as the group leader, for which the group's privileges are defined. The other users in the group inherit these privileges from the leader. There is one user called Tabula that represents the system manager, which is always permitted full access to every form and whose privileges cannot be limited. I will now demonstrate how to open a new user group and assign its privileges. Only the Tabula user is permitted to perform this operation. First, I set up a new user, which I will call Warehouse, that will serve as the group leader for all users working in a warehouse. I enter the user's form and open a new user with the desired name. I leave the Group Leader Privs column empty, since the new user is intended to be a group leader itself, and when I leave the record, I OK the message warning me that the new user is not linked to an employee. To define the privileges for this group, I run the program called the Privilege Explorer. I choose the group leader I defined, The privileges I define now only apply to the current company in which the Explorer is being run. I will demonstrate assignment of privileges to the warehouse group for the customer shipments form. When running the Privilege Explorer for the first time, the user has no privileges at all. A right click opens the menu from which you can assign write and read privileges or deny both. We begin by assigning full privileges to the entire main menu, then limiting them as needed. Navigating the Privilege Explorer is exactly like navigating the system itself. First, we deny privileges to the Financials menu for this group. Now, we define the group's privileges to the Customer Shipments form, its columns, warning messages, sublevels, and direct activations. A right click on the form allows you to choose specific columns. For example, I will now define the sales rep number column as mandatory for warehouse users. I right click the column and select Mark as mandatory. On the bottom of the screen, there is an option to flag the column as no record deletion in order to prevent users from deleting data from this column. I will now define the unit price column in the shipped items sublevel of the customer shipments form as read-only. Since we want the price to be taken automatically from the customer's price list or from the sales order without allowing it to be changed by the warehouse personnel. To do so, I right-click and select Mark as read-only. By right-clicking any form and selecting Form Warning Messages, we can see all the warning messages that can appear for that form, and if necessary, change those messages into error messages or prevent them from appearing altogether. For example, I will change the warning message that appears when one tries to ship a quantity of goods that do not exist in inventory into an error message. After I have defined the desired privileges, I can copy them to other users by right-clicking the privileges tree, selecting Copy to Other Users, and flagging the target users. You can flag multiple users in batch by using the Shift and Control keys. In a similar manner, privileges can be copied from one company to another by selecting Copy to Other Companies. I will now save the changes. Many of the system forms appear under several menus. If different privileges have been assigned to different menus that contain the same form, the least limited privileges apply. To view contradictory privileges, you can run the Discreps in User Privilege Tree report. To view changes that were made to privileges, you can use the Results of Privilege Assignment menu and the History of Privileges form. In this form, you can retrieve records by specifying the user for which the changes were made, the user that made the changes, the date of the changes, and so on. Now, let's run the Add New User program and define a user named Mark Stevens. In the Privilege Group Leader column, I will link him to the warehouse group we have just created. The new user thus inherits the privileges we created for the warehouse group without us having to define his privileges individually. Let's now check whether the privileges are ready. Once they're ready, we will re-enter the system using the new username Mark. The first time a user enters the system, it is recommended to flag the option authorizing the receipt of automatic messages, such as service packs and weekly tips. Furthermore, a new user has no password. It is highly recommended to define a working password. In order to prevent the possibility of users logging on as other users. This has wide ramifications since every operation in the system receives an electronic signature of the user that performed it. In the Personnel file in the Human Resources module, you can permit or deny additional operations for each employee. Under the Permissions tab, you can flag the following options. Download form data. This allows the employee to transfer form data, for example, to a file or Excel spreadsheet. Form and menu design. This allows the employee to change the appearance of forms and menus. Document design. This allows the employee to change the various formats in which documents and reports are produced. You can view more detailed descriptions of these options by clicking F1. For more information regarding privileges, run the Privilege Explorer wizard.